Welcome back to Accrued Interest. Today, this is the first edition in a new series that I like to call Sunday Scaries. Because let's be honest, you don't really want to go back to work tomorrow and get to those tasks that were sitting in your inbox since Friday. So I figured rather than sit on your couch and have existential dread, how about we just have a more general finance, general interest show where instead of doing specific stock picks, I just walk through the key finance and business stories of last week and just give my take on what I think it means for the week ahead. Now, the markets have been very scary, to say the least. The S&P 500 and the NASDAQ are down about 5 or 6%. Which, while I would not call it necessarily a crash, is a stark difference from the years where we were getting over 20% growth in the previous administration. So the stock market has started weak to begin the year, and a number of consumer benchmarks, a number of consumer surveys have also come in weak. Normally, I would not put too much weight in any one particular survey or consumer reading, because a lot of time consumers might say one thing in a survey and do something else with their money. But what has been notable about some of the weakness has been the steepness in the decline. The change in sentiment has become so negative so quickly, it's been pretty clear that consumers are reacting to some big news that's happening in real time. Now, there are many things that we could talk about in the economy, but for this first edition of Sunday Scaries, there's only one topic that really we need to cover. That's tariffs. Right now, the whole world is asking, is he really going to do it? Is the Trump administration really going to levy a whole host of tariffs against countries all over the world on April 2nd, which the president is calling Liberation Day? There's a lot of uncertainty, to say the least. Now, there are differing opinions of whether or not there are positive and negative effects from tariffs. But make no mistake, literally in the definition of tariff, it is a tax on business activity. We can debate who bears the tax or whether or not that cost is worth it, but a tariff is a tax imposed by one country on the goods and services imported from another country to influence it, raise revenues, or protect competitive advantages. So we still do not know what the details are for the tariffs that are about to come. Many of the major financial news services, such as Bloomberg, have actually set up tariff trackers where you can track the tariffs that have been imposed, threatened, suspended, sometimes all in the span of 24 hours. It's hard to make plans for the future if day by day the different regulatory schemes are changing without any prior notice. What is also spooking the market are not just the tariffs that some are expecting to come, but there is some feeling that the president is going to go even bigger than some had previously expected on the tariffs. At first, many thought the tariffs were just a bargaining tool, that they were going to be temporary or maybe not kick in at all. But the Washington Post, among others, have been reporting that the Trump administration is pushing aids to go as big as possible on April 2nd. Over the weekend, the president furthered evidence of this by saying that he couldn't care less if foreign automakers raise prices due to the tariffs. All this uncertainty has caused business leaders across a whole host of industries to just stop all capital planning. Wall Street, as well as Main Street, have found it too difficult to make future plans for business activity, so many of them have just decided to wait out until there's more certainty. In addition, many U.S. employers have decided to tamp back on any hiring plans as they find out what the impact of tariffs will be on their business. I hope you can see a pattern here emerging that all these small issues added up together can snowball to put a damper on economic activity. To be fair, there are other reasons aside from the tariffs and the current administration why the market could be due for a pullback. For the last 2 years, we've had above normal stock market returns. The stock has been up over 20% a year in multiple years. That is clearly not sustainable. Earnings growth in many industries have been above trend, and this was probably going to slow down, as well as earnings multiples were also near an all-time high and probably were due for a pullback. Government spending had been on the higher end of historical averages and was probably not sustainable at these levels and was also due for a pullback. However, the change that has been happening has been causing too much uncertainty and has been doing a lot of economic damage in the US and all across the world. I think many are being too dismissive of the damage that the tariff and the tariff threats have been doing to the economy, and some have been pretending that this is business as usual and everything is fine. In general, economists have been slowly raising their expected probability of a recession happening in 2025. In an earlier video, I'd explained that my baseline is that I believe that the U.S. more likely than not is going to fall into recession sometime in the next 12 to 18 months. I recommend you stay defensive and don't feel the need to try to buy the dips. One last point to wrap up the Sunday Scaries for this week is I just want to share a quote from a reporter from Barron's named Tae Kim, who is an excellent reporter who mostly covers semiconductors. He covers NVIDIA, but he says something that I just want you to think about when it comes to investor perception of the United States, valuation multiples, and the rule of law. Investors give higher quality valuation multiples to countries with strong rules of law. When securities fraudsters and grifters operate without consequences, it damages capital formation and capital allocation, essential for economic growth and prosperity. What that means is that all of the financial assets in the United States are valued at a premium to what a similar company would be in another market because investors have faith in the United States to provide liquidity and honor their laws. As more activities in Washington and across the United States make investors begin to doubt the United States' commitment to the rule of law, this can lower the premium that investors are willing to pay for U.S. assets and be another reason why the stock market has gone down. As always, thank you for listening and watching on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you again and have a great week.